Hi there, I'm John Michael Garapi and this is Popcorn Roulette. Each episode I ask a friend to come on the show, they suggest a movie, and we get together and talk about it. My friend for this evening is Jonathan Rousseau. How you doing? What do you do?
My name is Jonathan Rousseau. I'm currently a contract speech-language pathologist working in the behavioral school system.
Sweet. Do you enjoy your work?
I like working with the kids.
All right. On every episode I get together, I ask a person to suggest the food that they want to eat for our particular episode.
Yes.
You said you wanted to have buttered popcorn.
Well.
So I brought this with me, which is Mike and Ike's buttered popcorn.
Oh, great.
I figured we could share some and see, just like, you know, best case scenario, this tastes like Jelly Bellies.
Yeah, that's the best case scenario, which tastes disturbingly like buttered popcorn.
Please, take the rest of them.
Thank you, John Michael. I will.
This is the section of the show where talking all of a sudden becomes incredibly difficult.
That's true. That's because you got. It tastes.
You gotta wait for the aftertaste. It doesn't hit you immediately.
But they have that Jelly Belly taste.
Yeah, just not as good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it even tastes disgusting.
You know what it is?
It's actually really mild.
It's because it's larger. So that I think there's less shell to the middle gooey tastelessness. It's all right.
Oh, it doesn't replace normal popcorn, I'll tell you that much.
No, definitely not.
Anyhow, we'll leave these here. You can nibble on them while we talk.
Probably stick with the popcorn.
Today we're talking about Following by Christopher Nolan. It was his first movie.
Yep.
Starring, and I need to read this because there's no way I can memorize these three names, Jerry Theobald, Alex Haw, and Lucy Russell, which one of them went on to be an architect. It was the only movie he actually did. You know, and he got his architecture degree from Princeton. He was like, why would I ever pursue being an actor? I'm an architect.
Which character was he?
He's Cobb.
He's
actually.
Cobb.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The other two have middling acting careers, but they weren't in anything people would know or recognize, really. Yeah. Minor parts that Nolan threw at them, stuff like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So why do you choose, well, first of all, why don't we explain what Following is? Like, in about 3 or 4 sentences, what's the plot to this movie?
Okay, it's a noir film where a writer, an unemployed writer, starts following people to like develop his characters or something. But he kind of gets hooked on it, and he like starts following the wrong people, and he gets caught up in awful crime.
Yeah. Awful, terrible crime.
Yep.
It's got a femme fatale and a normal plot. It gets very weird very fast. His decisions actually don't make a heck of a lot of sense oftentimes. So that's part of the movie, though. It's intentional.
It also doesn't help that the movie is like cut up.
Yeah.
Like you don't there's like certain like things that are happening. It jumps through time, is what it does.
As per Christopher Nolan, he likes to send us a movie that isn't strictly bound by the laws of time.
Exactly, and there's like clues that you can be like, oh, his haircut. This must be more in the future. Oh, he's got a black eye.
Right.
This is further in the future, and eventually it all ties together in the end.
Why did you choose this movie?
I wanted to choose something that like people haven't heard of before.
Yeah, certainly.
A little pretentious, but I actually watched this movie as part of a film study class, and I thought it was really interesting. I knew nothing about it. I thought it was a really old film because it is black and white.
It's black and white.
Now, rewatching it, there's like things like, oh, it's not that old.
This is the 90s.
There's like CDs, and the guy's clearly got like The Shining on his wall, and like
there's like a Batman symbol on his door, which I suppose still could be the 60s, but isn't.
That actually, I thought that was interesting that the Batman symbol was on the door.
Christopher Nolan actually, because he ends up becoming the director of like Batman Begins. There's also, if you watch Memento, there's also a split second where there's a Batman symbol, like in a comic book shop.
So
like. But then that's it. The conspiracists want to keep finding Batman symbols in his other movies, and they can't find them. It's just the first two of all things. Yeah.
Well, what did he do? What was his next film after?
I'm not 100% certain. There's a bit of a gap.
Was it Batman?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, The Prestige is somewhere in there, but I can't remember
Prestige,
what.
The Prestige.
There's definitely something before that. I don't know his exact.
Okay.
Right
no,
off the top of my
I haven't
head.
seen his whole filmography.
So why do you think your teacher chose, following to show the class? What was his thought process?
Her
Her
style.
thought process. My apologies.
But the whole class was a study on like voyeurism in film. So we watched actual old films like Rear Window, Blow Out, Blow Up, which were very similar movies.
Yeah.
What was the Jim Carrey movie? The one where his whole
The
life
Truman
is
Show?
The Truman Show.
Yeah.
We watched the Truman Show. So it's just all based on like people with these kind of unnatural want to see other people's lives.
Yeah.
It's like this invasion.
Very strange.
It is.
General topic. One of my questions is: are writers weird or creepy? and here,
Sometimes, yes.
like, was this just like a section of the class, or was it
No,
like
this was the entire
This
class.
is the entire class. It's
It was
people watching, roughly, as a writer.
Yeah, it was people watching in film and
Yeah.
how it was portrayed in film.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, a very interesting class.
Yeah.
And it was a very unique class.
Right.
Because I'm not sure how many film study classes there are, but I feel like very few focus on like voyeurism.
Right.
Which, I mean, but movie watching is kind of inherently voyeuristic. You're watching, I mean, not really, but kind of the idea of looking into other people's lives.
Getting back to following,
Yeah.
this movie was made with a $6,000 budget. It is incredibly cheap.
Yep.
Like Nolan, when he first made this, he was taking advantage of the film studio at a very famous college. Can't remember exactly which one in England at the time. He mostly was just paying for the film stock. And even then, he was rehearsing with his characters. So when they used the film stock,
They only
it
had to
was
use
once,
once or twice.
Once or twice, yeah.
Or I mean, from what I read, he only wanted to do 1 or 2 shots of it, and that's it.
So comparing it to like other cheap films, so like The Evil Dead was shot out in the woods,
Yep.
and it took him like $60,000 to shoot that, and that was a movie done as cheap as you possibly could with
Yeah.
Sam Raimi. Clerks was filmed by Kevin Smith. He spent $27,000 on his work, also in black and white for obvious reasons.
Yep.
It's just cheaper that way.
Yep.
And that movie took off. Like, does the scene show on this? Because it's only $6,000, do you look at it and go like, oh, this is a cheap movie? Or do you like not knowing what you're walking into? You watched this in class.
I watched
knowing
this-
nothing really about
Oh,
the
yeah,
movie.
not technically in class, for class, but
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't see it. I mean, it looked polished. It wasn't
Yeah.
as polished as like a film from 1998
Well, just the
would
acting
be.
style seemed like it was pushing more towards the 1970s, like
Exactly.
new director sort of movement
Yeah.
of being
Well,
like kind of ad-lib these lines. So, opposite question time, because Nolan just made Dunkirk. It cost him $10 million to make that movie,
That's because
and he
he's-
made his money back,
Yeah.
you know? But like, if a movie costs only $6,000 to make, and that's the best case scenario, of course, but if a movie only costs $6,000 to make, why are we making $10 million movies? Like, can we make something for considerably cheaper? Why are we sending the audience that way?
Because people will pay for it.
Yeah.
If, once he made like, I feel like it wasn't Memento. I feel like the Prestige, the Batman films just became these huge blockbusters. So, they know he can make money, so they throw a lot of money at him so he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah.
I don't know if that always benefits the film.
Kind of an
but-
NFL problem of being like, well, people will watch the
Exactly,
game, so
exactly.
therefore
People-
the money will just keep coming,
Not just,
no matter as long
not
as
just
people
watch
continue
the
to
game, people will buy the merchandise, and I mean, maybe not for Dunkirk, but the like Batman films.
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar with Dunkirk. Did it win any awards? Or,
I don't know. Well, it just
Or
came
it
out
just
a little
came
while,
out,
a while
okay.
ago.
It's
It did very well for itself with critics and with like the box office. So
Well,
that's
yeah,
about as much as we can say at this point.
I'm not surprised because Christopher Nolan's name is kind of
Yeah.
like-
I almost want to like break out. And here's the funny thing about this one is because like I want to break out and talk about Dunkirk. I want to break out and talk about Memento.
Yeah.
Like obviously Following is the movie we're talking about. It's a good movie. We should be talking about that. There's so many little things going on in Nolan's
and
movies.
it's the one that like I feel like no one knows. Like I had no idea like it was a Christopher Nolan movie. Didn't, like when I suggested it to you?
Yeah,
No idea.
yeah.
I just thought it was a weird old movie.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the general
it's kinda
response.
yeah.
It's not, it's kind of, he's got a large catalog and it's full of successes.
Yeah.
There's like nothing he did, like everything he did was just a lineup to becoming a blockbuster director. So
Yeah.
like the fact that like he was, if this was, and this could be his worst movie, all things considered, technically, if you wanted to count them out and be like 1 through 10, which are his best movies, if this was my worst piece of art, I would be so excited.
Oh yeah, I think it's my favorite Nolan film.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm not super, like he tends to go with like these big twists, and I mean I haven't seen
over the
Dunkirk
top
yet,
revelations and stuff like that.
Yeah, like this one
a lot more subtle.
Is a lot more subtle in comparison to the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the actors in this movie?
I thought they were fine.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, they seemed like they were a little more old school. They were like muted. I don't know if maybe old school is more, you know, over the top, but whatever.
I mean, for a man who just ended up becoming an architect afterwards and had absolutely no interest in acting.
Oh yeah, no.
The person who played Cobb did an excellent job.
Oh yeah, I thought he did
of
excellent.
playing that just sort of like jerkish sort of role.
Yeah.
Of both
manipulative, like weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a question, because you haven't mentioned this movie was film noir, and I actually wonder if this movie is film noir, because like it's filmed in black and white. But at what point in time does something become a crime story? Like, does this become a crime drama, or is this film noir?
I mean, I say film noir off the top of my head, not knowing the actual real definition. But it does have like some of the, I feel like the trademark, like you said, there's the femme fatale. There's like there's like the mobster, and I mean he's like kind of almost a background character, the bald man who's not really that bald.
Yeah, no, he doesn't have any lines or anything like that.
He doesn't have any lines.
I don't even know if he's.
Did he have like the one line when they?
No, 0 lines.
0 lines.
There are 4 people with lines in this entire movie, and one of them is like the detective,
who is apparently Christopher Nolan's brother.
Uncle?
Maybe, I don't know. He looked older.
He is older. Like he actually has like acting chops or something like that. I didn't look into him, but yeah.
I just noticed his name on the credits. I was like, oh, Nolan. That must be someone related to him. It's gotta be.
You notice in that opening film, they're in a detective's office, but at the same exact time, like they're scanning around, and the room's relatively bare, and you can see like all this sound equipment in the background.
Oh, I did not notice that.
Because they're filming inside the university's like sound booth. Because it has like a nice window pane for like what it looks like, for an investigation, you know? Yep. So they could frame it with that. But
whatever. No,
whatever works.
They saved money.
They saved a tremendous amount of money making this movie.
Apparently, Christopher Nolan paid for it with his salary.
Did he?
Yep.
Just straight up?
He just straight up paid for everything with his salary.
So here's the things that go on in this movie because they have such a low budget. There's natural lighting going on. There's only one camera. The camera's handheld, and he's always, Nolan is looking directly. He's the one holding the camera. He's looking through the viewfinder.
Yeah.
Now, if you go and take a look at Dunkirk, there's a tremendous amount of natural lighting.
Really?
There's oftentimes one camera where Nolan will only use one camera, and he insists upon looking through the viewfinder. He won't look at a TV screen and say, well, do this. Why would he not want to use modern technology? Do you have ideas to like why a band would like insist upon using the same methods he was using back in 1999?
I mean, no, but I could bring up a kind of parallel example.
Sure.
I know like people pinned the whatever you call it, the Star Wars prequels because they only use CGI.
Right.
And once the new one came out, that movie looked a lot better because of the practical effects, the puppets, the like, I think it's mostly just the puppets.
Yeah, yeah.
the
machines they made to look like they came from the 1970s version of what the future looked like.
Exactly.
Those are the sequences that people were truly interested in. I mean, obviously the CGI effects, it's a matter of melding those two together.
Yeah, but it kind of makes it more real almost. Yeah. So maybe that's his way of like making it authentic, I guess.
Yeah.
Rather than like, the traditional Hollywood blockbuster.
I do wonder to some extent, like if like every single movie he's made up after a certain point are the type of movie, it's like sort of fulfilling the sort of person you wanted to be when you were younger. Mm-hmm. And like you have this vision of what a director is like, and you never quite want to give up on like that thought process of
Yeah.
being like, I want to be like Steven Spielberg was in '85.
Yep.
You know?
And this is what he had.
Yeah.
So let's see if I can make something as good as he did with using only what he could.
Yeah. Getting back to the movie.
Yeah.
The plot is that there's this one guy, he's a loner. He goes around and and at first he's just following people. Cobb, he follows the wrong person.
Yeah.
Cobb's a thief, and kind of.
Yeah. Well,
and Cobb goes around and breaks into people's houses for no good reason.
Yeah.
He just enjoys doing it.
Yeah.
And they kind of gang up and they case houses.
Yep.
The second house they case is his own house.
Yes.
Why do you think he chose his own house? They never explain. There's
What?
never even this ironic moment of being like, hey, is this your house or something like that? Nothing like that happens, you know?
Oh, well, I mean,
He
later,
starts- yeah.
later he talks to like the woman. I don't know what the woman's name is.
She's called the Blonde. There's actually
she
no.
called the Blonde?
She's called the Blonde. She doesn't have a name.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought for sure she
The
had a
main
name.
character's called the Young Man. He doesn't have a name either.
Well, technically, he's referred to as Bill, and
Yes, that's
Danny.
true. He's credited as the Young Man, but he actually is Bill.
Yeah, he's referred to as Bill in the beginning. But I feel like she has a name, but maybe not. She certainly is not credited as a name.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you know that. But at some point, he's talking to the Blonde, and he's like, he brought me into his own house. It was terrible. He brought in a brand new mat to hide his key under. But I think it was almost a. Oh, my words escape me now.
It's like a reverse voyeurism. I want you to see how I live.
Well, he wanted to be. It was like a not a machismo, but like a. This is my like. I want you to see my home.
Yeah.
Like a weird way, like, oh, I want you to be my friend. This is my home. And of course, Cobb is like, this is clearly an unemployed person. We're not stealing anything from this bum. He's like, oh. But yeah, then later, like the next scene, like he's typing in there alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was weird, but I think it worked for what the weird young man, the Bill or the young man or whatever you want
The
to call
sort of scene that Nolan was going for is just like, let's just have
him be really
have
awkward.
Cobb like criticize everything that you do, like
Yeah.
break this kid down.
Yep.
Eventually, just end up telling him to like shave and get a haircut, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It works. Each episode, I bring in a negative review of the movie because
Oh.
I ain't gonna give a negative review myself, but I like to see how people respond to them. So this one comes from IMDb by Fedor8.
Oh,
And
Fedor8.
it's titled, yep, Fedor8, the famous reviewer, which is titled "A Whole Minute Was Wasted on a Haircut." Not badly made, but after the interesting first several minutes, the movie goes nowhere, i.e. it turns into a mere run-of-the-mill noir drama. Who cares if it's written and presented in broken form? I've seen so many films done that way, it doesn't get me excited anymore at all. It's still just another double-crossed crime film, the kind of cliche crap one could have expected from Houston Bogart team-up. Yawn. I had expected something more unique to develop out of the initial premise of the central character following people. I wouldn't have even viewed this film had I known its plot was so standard. There's a couple of things kicking around in Fedor8's review here.
Oh, yeah.
One of them is that people who were interested in seeing a movie about a person who was a voyeur. Like, this is how the movie started. And very quickly into the movie, we get Cobb. And Cobb switches us from voyeurism, like people watching, to breaking and entering. And then not too soon after that, the plot starts to thicken. And I wonder if Nolan had the germ of a good idea of a different movie that he could have actually have done there. Do you think this movie suffered to some extent because it became a noir film or a crime story?
I don't think so. I think he kind of he was building on like this voyeurism. Like the reason why Cobb breaks into these houses is basically to like invade their like deepest privacy and make them feel uncomfortable. Like he mentions the box that everyone has, which is filled with like their prized possessions, which aren't really prizes. Like they're like old pictures and letters and like the stupid sentimental things that people hold on to and love. I thought that was interesting. It did turn into like a pretty standard double cross plot.
for being a movie that's cut up and he's hiding a lot of information by cutting it up and changing it out of order and whatnot, it seems like, to me, like the plot's kind of linear.
Oh, yeah.
And I wonder what would have happened
plot.
had he like just ironed that plot out? Did he cut it up and splice it and put it together in a different way, specifically so people would watch it a couple of times before they actually grasped it? Or could it have been a better movie or a worse movie had he just played it directly in the straight order?
Movie if it would. It would have been. It's a very simple tale.
Yeah.
Which is I think why I liked it more than I liked like Memento. It's since it's simple, like everything, like even though it's cut up, like everything kind of makes sense if you just watch. Like I think I only watched it once originally, for the class, and you kind of get it. It's pretty easy to get. Like I don't know. I thought it was pretty easy to get.
Yeah.
But
no.
I think if you watched it linearly, it would have been
just
boring.
Yeah,
boring.
Too straightforward.
Too straightforward.
I have to admit, I watched it a second time before we actually came to the show, and there was like little pieces of the puzzle that I hadn't quite connected in my head. Getting towards the end, there's no reason for us to spoil the movie at this point because it doesn't seem like there's any value to it, anyways.
Yeah.
Like talking back, because you were mentioning him opening up the box and talking about it. I've got a Christopher Nolan quote here where he happens to say that one of the things that you can do for very little money and with very little time is you can shoot a beautiful insert, something that works really nice and helps ground a scene with some visual quality and some visual character. You were talking about how you enjoyed that. I was just wondering, like, does shooting inserts like this take away from your ability to add more dialogue or more plot or more depth to the movie or more characterization, or does it add to characterization?
I think it was I think it definitely added to the film, kind of looking at these random items, and it was already explained, I'm pretty sure at that point, like everyone has a box.
Yeah.
And it's filled with like, these random things that they love, that once you take it away from them, you'll show them.
Speaking of that, we're like talking about the themes of like ownership.
Yep.
Like we just talked about first episode, we talked about Fight Club, and Tyler Durden has a tremendous amount of stuff to say about ownership. One of the things he actually he's constantly hanging on this concept of like you take things away from people so they understand what they thought that they owned. Yep. Cobb says the same damn thing in this movie. It's like he repeats himself twice.
Yep.
Is I take the important thing away so they understand what they got. Yep. Now, like
which one came first?
They're very close in time period to each other.
This one's 1998.
I don't think Nolan had a chance to watch Fight Club before making this movie.
But
that being the case, I'm pretty sure he had he probably could have read the book. Like was there something going on in '98? Like what was this thought process where there was so much anti-materialism in the air?
Oh, 1998.
Can you remember 1998? Where were you in 1998?
1998, I was in grade school, I think.
What was the anti-materialism concept like in grade school? Tell me, Magic the Gathering and Pokemon had just come out.
Pokemon had just come out. I was really excited about that. I played that game for so long.
Like young adults were looking at the children of their past.
How old was I in 1998? That was about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So I was like 11.
I mean, I think it's worth noting that like this is directly before 9/11. Our attitudes and our culture changed in like a blink of an eye.
Oh yeah.
And like I get the impression that anti-materialism was meaningless in a fight against terrorism. Like all of a sudden we had a different attitude that we needed to take. I just wonder about that time specifically.
I was 11.
Yeah.
Sorry, John Michael. What do you think about anti-materialism in 1998?
Well, this is my show. This is an interview with you, John. You have to tell me what I think.
Well, I was very materialistic as an 11-year-old. I lived for my Game Boy and my Super Nintendo.
I'm going to throw a weird one at you.
Okay.
When Nolan made this movie, what do you think he was trying to achieve? As a general, like, what do you think his goal was?
I wonder, like, knowing what I know now, I wonder if it was, can I shoot a movie with this $6,000?
Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to explore that. What I wish we did, we're actually running low on time.
Oh yeah, but I think he was trying to a proof of concept of like cutting up a film and making, jumps through time and trying to prove that concept can work as a movie.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
After everything's said and done. Anyhow, unfortunately, that's the amount of time we have to work for. Watch Following. It's easy to find. It's actually on YouTube for free. Don't tell anybody.
It's only $110. I mean, no, I don't think any studio owns it.
No, I think Nolan owns it.
Nolan
I think that's
owns
the
it.
reason why he doesn't care and he just lets it run on YouTube.
Yeah.
But
110 minutes.
Yeah.
Or was it 110 minutes or is it an hour and 10 minutes?
Something close. It's 70 minents, yeah.
It's 70
It's a 70-minute
minutes.
runtime. It's a pretty quick movie.
Yeah, it's a very quick movie.
John, it was a pleasure having you on. Would you like to promote anything right now? So like perhaps promote an audio drama that you're on? Maybe you'd like to do that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on an audio drama called Say Hello to Blackjack.
Oh, how fascinating.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this.
It's directed by a wonderful man named John Michael Garapi.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think I've heard of him.
And so the first season can be found at sayhellotoblackjack.com.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
All right.
And the second season is currently being recorded.
Yep, we're working on it right now.
It's wonderful.
Glad to hear it.
I'm the main character.
We're
great.
We're currently, if you like this video, make sure you comment, subscribe, click a like button. I don't know, go to haverhillcommunitytv.org. We're going to be on YouTube pretty soon also when these things start going up, so we'll be there as well. Hey, thanks for coming on. Take care.